guy, generational player, Hall of Famer, says he's averaged 43 points per game in today's low defense NBA while on Shaq's podcast earlier this week. You believe him, Perk?
Hell yeah, he didn't tell one lie. And that goes to show you also how the older generation looks at the NBA today. It is disgusting to watch when you watch the lack of effort defensively. And look, we're talking about Allen Iverson. I put him in the conversation with Isaiah Thomas, with Steph Curry's, far as little guys that played in the game that could dominate the game far as being little guards in the NBA. And hell yeah, he will bust everyone's behind in the league today, and I believe him. If he say he could average 40 plus, damn it, he could do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, Allen Iverson did not tell a lie. You are looking at and listening to somebody that covered every single game he played for the first 7 or 8 years of his career. All of them in Philadelphia. Okay, this man, when I think about him, his 12 years in Philadelphia obviously were what they were. But let me tell you something right now. Allen Iverson, do you know he averaged over 40 minutes a game 11 times? 7 times he led the league in minutes played. Do you know that the hand-checking rules in the National Basketball Association were not strictly enforced before the 2004-2005 season? So let's provide a level of basketball education, fellas, to the viewing public out there. When you're allowed to hand check, okay, it's going to impede your accuracy as a field goal percentage shooter. It's certainly going to mess with your accuracy as a three-point shooter, not to mention it will probably impede the amount of shots that you are taking. And so you're talking about a guy in Allen Iverson that averaged over 40 minutes. You're talking about a guy that was shooting, like 27 or 30 shots a game, was constantly in attack mode, and he was doing it as a miniature dynamo in a land of giants. Could you imagine with these open lanes to the basket? Could you imagine with these folks that don't want to play defense, that don't want to run up and down the court? And let me tell y'all a little quick story I had, because I'll never forget this as long as I live, and I know them. So Allen Iverson is in a slump. Allen Iverson is struggling to shoot the basketball. He's missing shots over a 10-game stretch. And you know what happened, guys? You know why he was missing shots? Because Allen Iverson said, you know something? I'm partying a little bit too much. I'm enjoying myself a little bit too much. And what I want to do is I want to take my behind home at a decent hour and get myself some sleep and relax. That led to his slump. And he was in a slump so bad, he got pissed off. And he said, guess what? Guess what, Perk? Guess what, Wendy? I'm going to go hang out on Fridays on City Avenue like I normally do. I'm going to stay out till 2 or 3 in the morning. The next night, he came out and dropped 58 on Stevie Franchise and Cutino Mobley and the crew. That's what he did. People that do normal things that lead to their elevation in play were not applicable. That didn't apply to Allen Iverson. What works against every other human being worked for him. And that was before these rules were enforced. Everything's wide open now. Oh, my Lord. He would have averaged 43. I ain't going to tell you his percentage would have been above 45%, but he'd averaged 43 because he would have been shooting all night long, and he would have been in constant attack mode, and there was nothing that anybody would have wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You thought Matthew Dellavedova needed to go to the hospital chasing Steph Curry. Imagine what people would have needed to go to the hospital chasing around Allen Iverson. Lord have mercy. Yes, he would have averaged 43.
Look, I'm not saying anything bad about a legend who helped carry the NBA when Michael Jordan retired. But if we're going to talk about how things are different today, we have to talk about both sides of it, which is why he wouldn't average 43. Because, number one, they wouldn't let him play over 40 minutes a game, Stephen A. You know that. They'd have him down 35, 36 minutes. Secondly, he wouldn't be allowed to take 27 shots if he was shooting 41, 42%. I know what you're saying about the hand checking, but he was a volume scorer, and in today's day and age, volume scoring is out. Nobody wants a volume scorer. If you're a volume scorer,
but he would have had easy later.
And third, true, but he also got to the foul line a lot. I know they didn't call everything, but a big part of this game was getting to the foul line. He did benefit from that. The other thing I'll say is at the other end of the court, they would target him like crazy in switches that he got away with back then when he had a defensive-based team and the game was played differently and they could protect him. They could protect him also because of the way they could play defense. He would be an absolute dead red target on defense, which would be hard to have him out there. His talent is unquestioned. He could stand next to Steph Curry and all those guys. But if you're going to play the game about today and talk about today's rules, you got to talk about both sides.
Wendy.
He would have averaged 43, Wendy.
God bless him.
And he would have played more minutes. I'm telling you, you wasn't going to be able to sit him down.
Wendy,
It would have been a problem.
But he wouldn't average it.
Wendy, he would average 43 in today's game, okay? We're talking about a guy that led his team to the NBA Finals when it was boxes and elbows, when it was a level of physicality that was unmatched. Do you know?
I know, and he shot 31% on threes.
So what? But that's the problem. That has nothing. We keep diving into these analytics. We keep diving into these field goal percentages. We keep diving into these cameras on the floor and what guys are saying. No, he could hoop. The eye tests tell me that Allen Iverson would have gave people that work in today's game. That's what Big Perk eyes say, that the league does not play defense like they did back in the day. Forget the numbers. My eyes tell me differently.
Stephen A., take a look at this. Kevin Durant ran on the court in Dallas yesterday when some fans screamed something demeaning to him. Katie had a conversation with the fans and later told security not to kick them out. Okay, Stephen, what do you think of how Durant handled that interaction?
I can't say enough about what a classy move that was by Kevin Durant. You say something derogatory towards him. First of all, he's a black man. Two white individuals say something derogatory towards him, so you know what that's going to connotate in the eyes of most people who didn't hear specifically anything. He goes over to them, he approaches them. He doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he doesn't confront them in a way that's volatile in any way, but he makes sure they understand that he's a man and there's a certain level, a certain way you will talk to him. And then after that, he has the right to have them removed from the game and doesn't do it. Yeah. He recognized the fact that despite the insults that they threw in his direction, which was obviously wrong, he could have had them removed even though they were paying customers and did no such thing. He deserves to be applauded for that. We all know that Kevin Durant is a superstar player, a two-time champion, a two-time NBA Finals MVP, but this is the latest example of the kind of classy individual he truly, truly is. He might get a bit sensitive at times with him clapping back at somebody, insulting him about basketball and stuff like that. But he's one of the best people you could ever meet. I know that from my years of covering him and talking to him, and this is an example of that. He did not have to do what he could have done. He could have had them removed the way that LeBron James once had folks removed, and they deserved it, by the way that Russell Westbrook was looking to have people removed in Utah and other places, and they deserved it. Those folks probably deserved it last night, too. But Kevin Durant didn't do that. Major, major props to him, because they probably deserved to be removed.
Yeah, this is classic jackass behavior by fans because they say whatever they said, and then as soon as KD comes over there, the guy wants to give him a high five. I'm sure, Perk, you've seen that happen 1,000 times to you and to your teammates over the years. Of course, Kevin Durant is a classy guy. I wish he wouldn't listen to when people denigrate him because so much of what is said about him is patently unfair. But unfortunately, he does sometimes listen. But he's never let it get him down. He's still playing at an incredible level and still proving it every night. And I would just say, don't look at your mentions, KD, and don't listen to the people who yell at you in the stands because that's not the real situation.
You know the one thing about Kevin Durant that I'm glad the world got to see yesterday is that he approaches everyone like that. Like, if he have a problem with you, it's not just on social media. He's not going to come at you in an aggressive nature. He's going to come to you one-on-one as a man and say, hey, man, what's the problem? And I'm glad he did handle it like that. He stood on business because it's about the game of basketball. He got it off his chest, whatever he had to say to them. And I know Kevin Durant, he killed them with kindness. Like, for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can hear him saying, why? Like, why are you doing this? Like, just enjoy the game of basketball. I could hear him say it. No, I mean, it was a class
Yeah.
act by Katie.
Yep, utmost respect.